a screenwriter friend of mine said there are two kinds of screenwriters: those who have read Shakespeare and those who have not. So I've seen basically every film of Hitchcock. I think probably twice, because he's sort of foundational. And as a student, I read every single play by Shakespeare, and a few maybe not by Shakespeare, but probably by Shakespeare. I like poetry. I actually wanted to be a writer before I wanted to be a filmmaker, and I wanted to write poetry. So I like William Butler Yeats. He was a great influence on me. And you know, poetry also, you know, has a rhythm, it has a musical aspect to it. So,
what do you think about poetry is influential in script writing? Is it like a more fantastical way to write the script?
Well, I've read hundreds and hundreds of scripts. You know, as a work. So there are indie directors, and you know, they usually write their own scripts, or they collaborate with a script, and then they make their movie for, you know, whatever small amount of money they can cobble together. I was a professional Hollywood film director, so I did direct two films from scripts that I wrote, my very first feature, and then one further down the line. But most of the things that I directed were written by other people. So then the first, you know, when you're a director, you have to make lots and lots and lots of choices. And if you're a working director, the first choice you have to make is this a script that I want to direct? So I had to read lots and lots of scripts. I mean, that's pretty much what people do in LA. You know, actors, right? Well, directors, agents, you know, and key technical people like DPs, depending on where they're at with their career. You know, is this a film that I really want to do? And so, having read lots and lots of scripts by professional writers, most of them stink. You know, I would say 30% of the scripts I read were decent, and maybe 15% were really good, and maybe 5% were really good. And you know, screenwriting is different from writing, because the screenplay is really kind of a blueprint for a movie, as opposed to a literary work on its own. The really good scripts actually do work as literature on their own. The way that I learned to write scripts was, I had a friend of mine who taught screenwriting at NYU, and he said, here's a bunch of scripts that you should read, one of which was Chinatown. And I probably read the Chinatown script, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 times, and every time I would be writing, I would thumb through the Chinatown script just to see how Robert Towne did stuff, because it's just such a great script. But a good script is more than a blueprint, because it's also a sales job. You know, if you're writing a script for you to direct yourself, then it doesn't matter, you know, and it doesn't matter what the subject is. I mean, maybe you're fascinated by insects and you want to make a 90-minute film about ants crawling around a tree. So if that's what amuses you, go for it, you know. Hopefully you're not going to spend a lot of money making it, because nobody's going to want to see it except, you know, 3 or 4 other weirdos. But I always wanted to make movies that I felt that people wanted to see. Not that I wanted to pander to the audience, but I felt that if a lot of people wanted to see the movie, that it must be a good movie. Certainly not the case. There are lots of movies that a lot of people go to see that I don't think are particularly good. But part of writing the screenplay is to convince a studio, an actor, a star, a director, to make it. So it has to be written in a way that helps you to see the movie, rather than if you were just doing it for yourself. So good descriptive writing. There's a writer by the name of Ron Bass, who at one point was the highest paid writer in Hollywood. And he almost had a factory. He actually had 2 or 3 people who would sort of do some writing for, he would sort of outline a scene and have them do the first draft, and then he would go in and fix it or tailor it. But one of the things that he would do is, inexperienced writers think that dialogue is what a script is about, but it's really not. First of all, people lie. How are you? Oh, I'm great. Well, are you really great? Probably not. Maybe you are great, but maybe something's going on, but you don't say it. If your girlfriend says, "How do I look today?" you probably say great, whether you think she looks great or not. This happens. People don't necessarily tell the truth, and in relationships. And I don't mean big lies like, are you cheating on me? But just little things. So you can, if there's somebody that you know really well and you say, "How are you doing?" They say, "Oh, pretty good." And then you say, what's the matter? Because you kind of sense that something else is going on. And with good actors, that's often what's happening. They're saying one thing, but you can see that something else is going on. And so that's part of what movies do. So people don't need to say, "I'm happy," in order for the audience to see that they're happy or they're sad or they're whatever, because they show it. It comes through. And so what Ron Bass would do is the girl would say to the guy, "What do you think of me?" And he would say, "Well, I don't know." And then Ron Bass would say what he's really feeling in the description, so that for the people who were reading it, obviously, this isn't something that because it's what the actor's doing, but so that the stupid people at the studio would kind of get what was really going on. That the character says no, and then Ron Bass writes in, "But he really meant yes," or in a much more artful way. So, but that's kind of the way good scripts work.